Alrighty, welcome, Abdul. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to join you.
Oh, so great. So I've got Abdul Saad here with me, who is one of our in-demand program members. And I brought Abdul on today because you've got a really interesting business story. And I love how you've really evolved, from the work that you were doing and then really starting your coaching programs. And so I'm really keen to kind of dive into that a little bit today and some of the things that, you've found along the way. And so for those who are just tuning in for the first time, who've never come across you before, Abdul, can you give us a little insight just into like who you are and who you help?
Yes, thanks again, Amy. I'm a traditionally trained clinical psychologist. So I went through the traditional psychology pathway and worked in the public hospital system for about a decade, then went into private psychology practice. And more recently, I guess in the last 7 years, I've evolved into more of a transformational coach, helping essentially adults, especially men, with their journey of transformation and awakening to, we'd say, who they truly are at their essence, beyond whatever stories we have about ourselves and whatever defense strategies we develop. So it's about helping people get in touch with who they are, and rise above self-limiting beliefs, stories, and scripts.
Mm.
So it's empowering humans, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. So going from, the psychology background and then making the shift to doing some more coaching, what kind of triggered the want to sort of lean into the coaching side of your business?
Well, to be honest, it was my own experience with coaching, having my own experience with a transformational coach who I still have a relationship with, really helped me understand the power of coaching and meeting people where they're at, and not necessarily
Mm.
if you did go through some sort of a linear process like you might do in therapy, which
Hmm.
I still do. I still serve the community as a clinical psychologist, but the coaching model is, in a way, allows you to meet people where they're at. It's more strengths based,
Hmm.
and it's for people that don't necessarily fit the diagnostic or sort of therapeutic model. So it's a
Mm.
great way of working with people in that transformational space. And it's
Yeah.
very much a strengths based way of working.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep,
Yes.
fantastic. And I know when we first got connected, Abdul, when you reached out to me, you were kind of at this crossroads in your business where you
Yes.
were already running a really successful practice. Like that
Yes.
was no question about it. Everything was
Yes.
working really well. But then you had this idea around like, I really want to launch this coaching program. I really want to start, targeting men specifically to work with.
Yes.
So tell
Yes.
me a little bit around that. And I guess when you were thinking at the start of that journey, what were some of the challenges that you had in place, or what were some of the potential roadblocks that you could see at that time?
Yes. Well, it really has been a pivotal year because with joining your program and really understanding the ins and outs of LinkedIn, the launch of the program, it's called the Return of the King or Return of the King, which is connecting men to what you would call their inner sovereign or their internal sort of seat of authority.
Mhm.
It's that part of the masculine psyche that connects men with sense of justice, their dignity, their sense of sovereignty. So I guess the difficulties I had was what's the right platform when we
Mhm.
should talk about this? And I found through your program and your help is LinkedIn is really a great platform to give content that's sort of deep, intellectual, takes the audience with you. And it's just been great to use LinkedIn as a canvas in a way, as a social media platform to talk about this topic and to get interest and to actually launch the program this year.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. And had you used LinkedIn before in the business, in your other practice at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I've known about LinkedIn. I've always had a profile, but
Yeah.
I was completely blind to using it for business.
Mhm.
And what you've taught me about, essentially, it's a very powerful vehicle or channel that you can use.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's pretty common, I think, with LinkedIn. We can kind of be on there as observers and what I
Yes.
call as LinkedIn lurkers, where we kind of
Right.
see other people using it. We know it's kind of there. We kind of have an inkling that our
Mm.
ideal clients are on the platform. But
Yes.
then when it comes to actually using it in the business, knowing what to do and in what order and all those sorts of things, that can be a bit blurry, for some
It
people as well, if you haven't done it before.
definitely can be. And the great thing about signing up with your program is it just helped me materialize the program, the actual
Mm.
content. And I think once we make a decision to invest in ourselves, to learn, things begin to come together because we've
Mm.
crossed that threshold. So
Yeah.
much of my work with men is about crossing that threshold to
Hmm.
making the decision to transform.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And so when you started to show up a little bit more on the platform
Yes.
and
Yes.
naturally you hadn't, had to do it before in your business
Yeah.
that was already successful on its own,
Yes.
and then you knew that your coaching clients were on LinkedIn.
Yes.
What were like two or three things that you either, learned in terms of strategies or insights, or maybe just like little golden nuggets on the coaching calls with the tribe that
Yes.
made a bit impact in terms of like what you were doing and how you were showing up?
Well, I think the main one that comes out for me, which is something I've always known, but your program helped really crystallize for me is, and I'm going to put it in my words, this isn't necessarily what you said.
Yeah.
It's to come from love.
Uh-huh.
Who am I serving here? What's the value I'm adding?
Yeah.
Rather than coming from fear.
Mm,
Am I going to get likes? How's it going to land?
mm,
And I really made a conscious effort to internalize the state of who I want to help and how can I authentically help them. That's really the biggest one. Is I'm coming from wanting to create value, excellence, and ultimately loving service. I
mm,
see that as that's the foundation for business.
mhm,
So that would be definitely a main one. The other one is just to have faith, back yourself, and
mm,
trust the process, and not be so focused on any particular outcomes within a particular timeline.
mm,
Allow the
mm.
process to organically unfold.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because I think it's really there's kind of like this intimidation factor sometimes with LinkedIn where you first get on there if you haven't used it before a lot and you see other people on there, lots of, likes or engagement or saying
Yes.
really thoughtful things, and you either think, okay, well that's something to aspire to, or you think, well that could never be me, or somewhere in the middle. So I love how that mindset that you've taken is like, I'm just going to show up, I'm going to add value to the people that I'm there to serve, and
Yeah.
follow the process and everything will take care of
And
itself.
in my case, people say we read all your posts, but and it
Yeah.
is a bit of a tricky area, maybe because I'm talking about men or
Mhm.
empowerment. So LinkedIn, because it's sort of your billboard and it's linked to your career, I found a lot of people may be apprehensive where
Mhm.
they really resonate with what I'm saying, but they're thinking twice. Well, if I like that, what's the perception? So
Yes.
I'm not going by the number of likes. That's not
Mhm.
my metric.
Yep. I think that's a really important thing to raise because, if there's someone else that's listening to this where their market isn't so visible in terms of
Yeah.
how they engage online, like, from the work that we do in the tribe, lots of people work with, board of directors, CEO level people, and a
Yes.
lot of them aren't going to show up and engage publicly, but they do engage privately.
Exactly.
And so it's about being visible to the right people and not just sort of looking at the likes and the comments and the
Yes.
vanity metrics that other people look at as success, because that actually has nothing to do with it in a lot of cases.
And I find
Yeah.
LinkedIn is a more mature platform for that. It does
Mm,
encourage
mm.
that more, maybe
Yeah.
compared to other. Because I've done YouTube, I've done sort of other video based stuff. So it's definitely a platform that is I was not aware of its utility and its potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. So you started showing up, you started to be more visible, adding value to the people that you can serve. What were some of the other changes that you made, like to your business or LinkedIn overall, that
Well,
had an impact?
the other big one was through your program is actually creating an offer. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it sounds so basic, right? But saying, okay, well, what is my offer? What am I going to propose to the marketplace?
Mm-hmm.
How am I serving the people? What's the internal architecture of the offer? And through several iterations of it this year, I'm at a point now I'm very confident in my offer. I've had a number of men sign up, about half a dozen this year. So what I found is that process that you teach of refinement, rather than a lot of psychologists, a lot of people tend to be type A personalities and perfectionism, neuroticism. So just saying, hey, just go with it and refine. And
Yeah.
that refinement process, you gain that confidence
Mm,
and the real time feedback you're getting from the market rather than needing to get it all right. It's
mm-hmm.
like theoretically in your head and then
Mm-hmm.
you execute. So
Yeah.
that's been a game changer this year. And I have a very clear offer now that's been tested and has
Mm-hmm.
proof of concept.
Yeah, I love that. And I was actually looking through your notes before we jumped onto this, Abdul. And I remember like when we first started talking like this, as you said, it's a brand new offer. You hadn't
Yes.
presented it in this way before at all.
Yeah.
And then the first campaign that you ran with us,
Yes.
you got your first person in to this offer.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
exciting. Got the first sign up.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And what did that do for your like confidence and momentum from there? How did that impact you?
well, it boosted my confidence, but I think more importantly for me is that it's like, wow, this is really what I want to do. This
Mm,
is what I love to do. And it was like a quantum leap for me, like working one on one, in this case with a man on a in a very targeted way, in a very intimate coaching container,
Mhm.
over a 90-day period, where it's like we're meeting face to face, we're doing in-person support, in between support,
Yeah.
uh, recording their subconscious audios, modules. It was a very it forced me in a way to innovate. And like I said, it's like a threshold had been crossed, and then everything sort of happened after that.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can say it's almost like magic that things came together that I couldn't have predicted when I
Mm.
first signed up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
awesome. I love that, and you know it's sort of snowballed from there. You you know what it's like being in our tribe, and we do, like, love to sort of stretch the boundaries of what's possible for you
Yes.
as well, and oftentimes, especially when you're starting something new and maybe people listening to this can relate to it as well, like, there's
Yes.
always that fear of the unknown of
Yes.
what is this gonna work like, is this gonna work? What's this gonna be like? How long is it gonna take? All of these, like, unanswered questions, and like you said it earlier with your clients as well, you've just gotta take that leap of faith a little bit, and you've gotta take that responsibility to, like, want to change things yourself as well.
Yes, yes, and the process itself also forces you to bring together all of your skill sets and discover your strengths and innovate and make these novel links that you hadn't made before. Like, oh, I could how I package it and what I'm offering and my skill set. It brings us in a more innovative place because we are
Mhm.
innovating and we're creating value and working on how we package that so the market can perceive it in that way
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
test it. You test it out.
Yeah. Love that.
Mhm.
Test.
Test.
Our
That's right.
favorite word.
That's right. It is a favorite
Put it
word.
out there and test. Yeah. That's awesome. And I
Yes.
know you've done like a really big up level in like your pricing strategy and how you position
Yes.
yourself in the market as well. And you don't have to
Yes.
share your rates or anything like that for what you
Yes.
do. I'm
Yes.
just curious to know, like, because there are some people that might be listening to this who are
Yes.
undercharging right now and they
Yeah.
don't realize it.
Yes.
And so I'd just love for you to sort of share a little bit of your journey of how you've kind of decided and landed on the pricing of your programs and your offer and how that's maybe different to how you would have done it previously.
Yes. Well, as a traditional psychologist, it's usually you charge an hourly rate, right? Like so
Mhm,
many
mhm.
professionals, accountants or other fields.
Yeah.
So this was really about the value proposition and the transformational value. And I guess when I first priced it, I just went with a gut feeling of okay, well, what do I actually think it's worth?
Mm,
And the way that I deal with it is that would I feel resentful if I charge that? And that's going to create like a distortion energetically for me with the
mhm,
client relationship. So I go by my feeling, and I sort of have an inner barometer in a way. It's like, well, if I feel it's too much and that's an inflated price, well, then that triggers that imposter syndrome. But I know if it's too little, and I know that I do deliver value and I do follow through and give excellent service, so I hit on a sort of a ballpark figure, and then after the first client, I clearly felt that that price really under reflected the value. But I began with that price because it was a pilot, I was learning, and it was a fair exchange. But I don't know if that answers the question, but it was more for me an energetic feeling, and I go by, I
yeah.
don't want to feel resentment
Mm,
or that I'm undercharged,
mhm,
and then
mhm.
that creates a distortion in what I'm delivering.
Yeah, I love that because I think it's definitely when you're in that coaching relationship or
Yes.
you're showing up in that kind of dynamic, you want
Yes.
to bring your all for that other person. And
Right.
if there's any kind of underlying resentment, like you've said, around like this
Yes.
isn't feeling good for me or this doesn't feel
Yes.
like a fair exchange of
Yes.
value from both ends,
Yes.
it's gonna just, show up in other ways and it's not good for the business overall. So I love that. And what would be your advice to someone who maybe is listening to this and is kind of sitting with it going, I want to raise my prices, but I'm a bit too scared because I'm not sure if they're going to pay or I'm not sure if I'm going to lose clients from it as well. Cause I know you've been through a few iterations. So what would you say to them in that position?
I would say go back to your offer and say, how can I maximize the value
Mm,
so that I feel internally congruent with this price?
mm-hmm.
Because I think if we're feeling that lack of congruence, I take it as, and this is, I guess, the coaching,
Yeah.
it's giving us something. It's data. It's not a bad thing. So,
Mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm,
it telling me that I really don't believe it's as valuable as it is? Or if I
mm-hmm,
did, am I not like, is it somewhere I'm not convinced or I'm not communicating it right? Or I don't feel like
mm-hmm,
I've had enough practice
mm-hmm,
sitting with and try to decode what does that anxiety or that, in a way, discomfort, what's it telling me?
mm-hmm.
And working on that, treating it as a data point, as information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I love that.
mhm.
But kind of sitting with it and seeing how it fits.
Yeah, and I guess another way could be if someone's really stuck, then okay, go by what you would charge with your hourly rate.
Hmm.
And then say, okay, well, if I was to add a margin to that, what would that be? And then just play around with that figure and get a feel for it.
Mm.
That might be another way if someone is really conservative and struggling.
Hmm.
But I at least want to break out of the hourly rate model.
Yeah.
So what would the hourly rate be? What would that figure be? And
Hmm.
what would be something that I'd add on to that that reflects the value that's being
Hmm.
offered,
Yeah.
which can't be captured in an hourly rate.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's a different like paradigm. You're sort of transitioning to a new way of thinking.
Yeah. And especially if you've come from that environment like you have, where you've always charged hourly, or for
Yes.
other people, maybe they're working, in a corporate job and they've always earned a particular salary or a particular
Yes.
hourly rate. It can feel, from a mindset point of view, like really hard to sort of break out of that a little bit too. So
Exactly.
I
Yes.
guess since you've made that shift yourself and you've got obviously now men that you're working with and it's more of a value exchange rather than the hourly rate, what
Yes.
kind of impact has that had on just the way you run your business and like the leverage and the lifestyle that you have sort of around your business now?
I'm just a lot happier, to be honest. I'm happier because I want to say it's forced me, but I'm more innovative now. Because I
Mhm.
guess with the hourly rate, I can't see you for an hour and I get paid, right? And I'm still
Yeah.
giving you a good service. I'm not like,
Yeah.
cruising for the hour. But with this way of working, it's like really focused on creating transformational impact and value because I would not feel congruent with earning that money if I didn't help you transform.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
energetically, it's uplifted everything. And I think psychologically, it's helped me see that there are really no limits. A lot of these limits, artificial constructs,
Mm. Mm.
they're self-limiting beliefs. Because I think, the way I look at it is if we're internally convicted of something, then that's going to come across when we're having that conversation. If we're internally
Hmm.
conflicted, then that's going to
Hmm.
come across.
Yeah,
So it's increased
absolutely.
my inner conviction
Yeah.
internally. I'm internally congruent now.
Yeah, I love that. One thing I always fall back to in business, my friend Dan Martell talks about this, where you're not going to run into pain, right?
Yes.
So if we know that adding more clients means more hours and more stress and
Yeah.
all of these sorts of things, then we just naturally cap our businesses at a certain level, whether we know it or not. And I think one thing that you've done really well is kind of like opened up these new possibilities of like working differently and what that looks like and being able to
Yes.
create the business and the life that you
Yes.
want and just feel really congruent with that, which has been awesome to see.
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
I'm able to deliver this innovative transformational model of coaching, which requires this different perspective.
Mm,
It's
mm,
you can't really deliver it on a sort of an hourly basis where you're just charging hourly. It's a different model, and
mm.
I'm not denigrating that model, but it doesn't quite match what I'm doing in this specific coaching container.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I think now you've gone working with, more premium level clients. You're working
Yes.
with, people that are investing at a high level in
Yes.
themselves as well. And so that creates a high level container too.
Yeah, and the follow through is just amazing because
Yeah.
they really are, as you say, they've invested, so they're going to follow
Mm,
through.
fantastic. So when
Yes,
it came to like attracting those new kind of clients into your
yes,
world, I know when we first started working, you had a really clear idea of who they were going to be, but it was more
yes,
around like finding where they sit on LinkedIn. And like we
yes.
said, they're not going to engage too much publicly. So how do we go about finding these people? What are some of the things that have worked for you, do you think, when it comes to just attracting the right clients into the business?
Well, just through the posts and the interest that it creates, because in my case, I'm talking about something very, I would say, unique and innovative that not many people talk about. So
Mm.
the first client was a DM saying, I'd like to
Yep.
have a chat, interested in what you're doing. And from that, it's been a combination of direct messaging on LinkedIn and conversations. And from those clients, word of mouth
Mm-hmm.
referrals, which sort of tends to be the case in my career. Clients become like family and they refer their family.
Yeah.
And so it's been very organic in terms of
Mm.
nailing the
Mm.
clients.
Yep. Fantastic.
Yes.
And what are you most excited about, like in the business right now? And as I guess you kind of look towards the next 12 months, like now the program's up and running. Now we've
Yes.
got, the premium client, the premium pricing around it. What's next for you? What are you really excited about?
Well, I really want to expand the whole return of the king model toward
Mm.
marriages, family, helping, especially. And I mean, I use this term just as a placeholder. Maybe you could say premium clients or high net worth individuals, and not because they're high net worth or they've got a lot of money, but because they have a unique pain points when it comes to their family life,
Mm,
like marital conflict. Because what I find with these individuals is because there's maybe abundance or affluence, it creates a distortion where maybe there's guilt or there's a feeling of, we should be grateful, or why do we have problems, or do we need therapy? And there's a particular pattern of distress that occurs
mm,
within these relationships that I don't think are adequately addressed by seeing a therapist or a coach for an hour here and there.
mm,
So I'm looking forward to creating more innovative, comprehensive containers
mhm,
that
mhm.
serve the men and their families,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
within the systems within which they live.
Mhm, mhm. I love that, and I'm
Yeah.
so excited for what we're but I know the behind the scenes of this, so this is why I'm getting excited because I know
Right.
exactly where you can take this, and it's just
Yes.
really, really exciting. So,
Yes.
yeah, honestly feel like it's just getting started for you, Abdul. Like, even though you've made such good progress, we're, got the right people coming through, I
Yes.
can just see this next level of growth for you, and it's awesome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you being part of this journey.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So if you're like just thinking about someone else that might be listening to this who,
Yes.
maybe they've got a really successful business like you
Yes.
had as well, and they're wanting to mix it up, like you said, be a little bit more innovative with how they're delivering their services or creating
Yes.
a new offer and maybe
Yeah.
trying a new platform like you did with LinkedIn.
Mhm.
What are some key pieces of advice that you would say to them, knowing what you know now?
Well, I would say to take the plunge and invest in learning about different platforms, certainly looking at your program, what you offer, rather than trying to work it out on your own. Finding a community, finding a mentor such as yourself would be one key thing. And then just giving yourself that permission to think outside the box
Mhm.
and to
Mhm.
sit with maybe the anxiety that comes up, or just say, okay, and then focus on who is it that I want to help and how do I want to help them?
Mm.
And how does my current model limit me in helping people?
Mhm.
Because the more that we can help and the more value we add, also the more financial reward that we can claim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I love
And
that.
it is definitely possible, but
Mm,
you've got to make the decision to make the investment in yourself and
mm.
think differently, step into an unfamiliar territory.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for the recommendation for us as well. You're one of the lovely members of our tribe, and we just love
Thank you.
working with you as well. And so
Thank you.
it's just awesome to see your growth and
Thank you.
your involvement. And I know you as a coach get fulfillment from seeing your clients succeed, as do we. So it's always really lovely to see.
Absolutely. And I want to say that on the calls, I'm someone that's really big on mastery, and it's so clear that you have mastered what you teach. And I do see you as a master in your field. So I really want to acknowledge that, Amy.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, no, I so appreciate it.
You know your stuff. You know your stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And I think it's important, I guess, to kind of show that and express that even in the world that you're in, because now we are flooded with so many people out there with saying so many different things online, and
Yes.
it's really hard to decipher sometimes of like who are the genuine people that know what they're doing and
It is
who are
hard.
the people that are trying to fake it till you make it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yes, and
Yeah.
often it's the humble ones that sort of struggle with demonstrating their value, like really
Mhm.
brilliant people
Mhm.
that can sometimes undersell themselves or not back themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, which is why
Yes.
I love doing what we do to make
Exactly.
sure you've all got a voice and doing what
Exactly.
you do. And I would say you're one of those humble ones as well, Abdul, where it's
Thank
just
you.
you are really established with what you do. You've got such a great expertise. And I've
Thank
just, yeah, like I said, love seeing you putting yourself out there on LinkedIn on a new platform in a
you.
new
Yes.
way. You're
Yes.
getting your clients, you raised your
Thank you.
prices. We've got big things coming for you
Yes.
this year as well. So thank you so much for just
Thank
sharing a
you.
little insight to your journey and what's happening in your world.
It's been a joy. Thank you, Amy.
So welcome.